10 minutes. That's all it takes. 10 minutes to change the story, to flip the script, to drag yourself out of the mud you've been sinking in. But most people, they waste it. They scroll, they laugh, they yawn. They pretend 10 minutes means nothing. And that's why they never win. Because the truth is, everything can turn in those few moments. The door is right in front of you, waiting, daring you to open it. But here's the catch: you don't get forever. You don't get endless chances. You've got 10 minutes. Open this, step through, and you win it all. Ignore it, hesitate, and you stay exactly where you are, stuck, forgotten, ordinary. 10 minutes is all it takes to shift destiny. People laugh when they hear that. They think destiny is carved in stone, written in the stars, unshakable, untouchable. They think it takes years of grinding, decades of sacrifice, lifetimes of crawling just to move an inch. They believe in long roads, slow change, distant results. And yet, what they never realize is that sometimes everything changes in an instant. Sometimes it all comes down to 10 minutes. 10 minutes where you either act or you stall. 10 minutes where you either move or you rot. That's all it takes for the whole story to bend. Think about it. 10 minutes can decide whether you make the call that opens a door or stay silent and let it close forever. 10 minutes can decide whether you pick up the pen and write your future or toss it aside and let someone else write it for you. 10 minutes can decide whether you face the fear in front of you or run away and chain yourself to regret. People underestimate how fragile their lives are, how close their fates always sit to the edge. 10 minutes isn't small. It's a blade sharp enough to cut a lifetime in half. The truth is, most people waste their 10 minutes. They don't even notice when it arrives. They're too distracted, too lazy, too comfortable. They drown in routine, scroll their lives away, laugh at nonsense, complain about time slipping by. Yet when the real moment comes, when destiny is knocking, they treat it like just another ordinary minute. They don't recognize the weight, the urgency, the chance. They think, I'll do it tomorrow, as if tomorrow is guaranteed. But destiny doesn't work like that. It doesn't wait. It doesn't repeat. 10 minutes, that's all you get. And in those 10 minutes, everything inside you is exposed. Do you act with courage, or do you freeze with fear? Do you grab hold of the opportunity, or let it slide through your fingers like sand? Do you rise to the occasion, or do you shrink back into the shadows? That choice defines you more than years of words or promises. Because anyone can talk about ambition when the clock isn't ticking. Anyone can dream when there's no pressure. But when time is running out, when the moment is slipping, that's when the truth spills out. That's when you find out who you really are. 10 minutes isn't about the clock. It's about urgency. It's about stripping away all the excuses you've been feeding yourself. When you only have 10 minutes, you don't have time to overthink, to hesitate, to wait for approval. You either jump or you don't. You either claim what's yours or you watch it vanish. And most people, they hesitate. They stall. They convince themselves they're not ready. And in that hesitation, the moment dies. They don't lose because they're weak. They lose because they're slow. But you, if you're listening, if you're awake, if you're not like them, 10 minutes can become your weapon. Because urgency sharpens you. Urgency forces you to cut away the lies, the fears, the illusions. It makes you raw, focused, alive. In those 10 minutes, if you choose to act, you become something different. Something unstoppable. Destiny doesn't shift for the hesitant. It shifts for the one who sees the clock ticking and doesn't waste a second. And here's the haunting part. You never know when those 10 minutes will arrive. It could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be right now. You won't get a warning label. You won't get a sign flashing above your head. The door opens without announcement. And if you're not ready, it slams shut just as quickly. That's why the ordinary never win. They're too busy waiting for a perfect moment that never comes. They don't realize the imperfect moment in front of them was their chance all along. 10 minutes is all it takes to shift destiny. Not 10 hours, not 10 days, not 10 years. 10 minutes of clarity, of courage, of ruthless action. And in that brief window, you either change everything or you lose everything. That's the cruel beauty of it. Destiny doesn't demand eternity. It demands 10 minutes where you finally decide to move. Most people waste the time that could save them. They treat minutes like scraps, like loose change in their pockets, something to toss away without thought. They act like time is infinite, like they've got a secret stash hidden somewhere, like the clock isn't bleeding out with every second. They don't realize the cruel truth, that the very minutes they waste are the same ones that could have lifted them out of the hole, changed the course, rewritten their story. They waste what could have saved them, and they do it smiling. Look around. How many hours vanish into nothing? Eyes glued to glowing screens, fingers scrolling through lies, minds numbed by noise. People convince themselves they're resting. They're killing time. Killing time. What a phrase. They kill the very thing keeping them alive. They choke out their own chances with distraction and call it comfort. They never notice how the little moments, the ones they throw away, are the exact moments destiny tries to hand them a key. Because the truth is, salvation doesn't come wrapped in ceremony. It doesn't arrive with flashing lights or grand music. It slips into the cracks. A phone call you ignore, a book you never open, a thought you dismiss, a chance you delay. That's where saving lives hides, in the small, overlooked, wasted fragments of time. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, a single hour. That's all it would take. But most people spit it out. They'd rather sink back into their numbness than grab hold of something that could break them free. Why? Because wasting time feels easier than using it. Action burns. Discipline hurts. Facing your own potential is terrifying. So they run to distraction, to noise, to anything that makes them forget the ticking of the clock. They say, "I'll start tomorrow," as if tomorrow is promised. They say, "I don't have time," as if the universe hasn't handed them the same 24 hours as everyone else. But the truth is they have time, They just burn it. They set it on fire and watch it turn to ash, never realizing that ash is made from their own chances. And when the horror comes, when the storm finally hits, when life grabs them by the throat, they'll scream for time. They'll beg for just one more minute, just one more chance. But it won't come. It never comes. The minutes they wasted were the very lifeboats that could have saved them, and now they're gone. That's the joke of it all. They had what they needed. They had the rope. They had the door. They had the clock ticking in their hands. But they let it slip through their fingers, piece by piece, until there was nothing left but regret. The saddest part is they never even realize it while it's happening. They think wasted time is harmless. They think minutes lost are too small to matter. They don't understand that destiny doesn't wait for hours. It moves in seconds. Salvation hides in the tiny windows, the ones that vanish before you notice. And when you don't take them, when you waste them, they don't come back. Time is the one currency that never refunds. But you can see it differently. You know that minutes are weapons, keys, bridges. You know that what others waste, you can use. That's the edge. That's the separation between the chosen and the ordinary. Ordinary people drown in their wasted moments, but you can rise from yours. You can choose to act in the spaces where others sleep. That's how you win. That's how you escape. That's how you save yourself. Most people waste the time that could save them, and that's why they stay trapped forever. They hand away their victories to distractions. They bury their destinies under excuses. They strangle their chances with hesitation. They don't realize the only thing between them and everything they want is the clock they keep ignoring. And by the time they wake up, by the time they finally see it, the clock has already stopped ticking. Winning demands action, not hesitation. That's the brutal truth no one likes to face. People love to talk about winning, dream about it, fantasize about the glory, the success, the applause. They sketch it in their minds like some shining trophy waiting for them at the end of the road. But when the moment arrives, when the choice is staring them in the face, when all it takes is a leap forward, they freeze. They stall. They hesitate. And in that hesitation, everything dies. Hesitation is poison. It feels harmless at first. You tell yourself you're just thinking it through, just waiting for the right time, just weighing your options. But the clock doesn't stop while you wait. The world doesn't pause while you think. Opportunity doesn't stand still, politely tapping its foot until you're ready. No, it moves. It slips away. And every second of hesitation is a second where someone else is acting. Someone else is moving. Someone else is seizing what could have been yours. People don't lose because they're incapable. Most of them aren't weak. Most of them aren't even unlucky. They lose because they never act. They stand at the edge of the door, staring at it, debating, arguing with themselves, while someone else just walks through. And then they sit there with their excuses. It wasn't the right time. I wasn't ready. I'll try again later. But later never comes. Later is a graveyard filled with all the victories that hesitation killed. Winning demands action, sharp and ruthless. It doesn't care if you're scared. It doesn't care if you're ready. It doesn't care if the odds are stacked. The moment appears, and you either grab it or you don't. That's the law. That's the game. And hesitation. Hesitation is the choice to lose without even fighting. You've seen it, haven't you? The ones who talk endlessly about their dreams, their plans, their big ideas. They write it down. They tell everyone. They pump themselves up with words, but when it's time to act, silence. They freeze. They wait. They let the moment die in their hands. And then they complain about fate, about luck, about the unfairness of life. They blame the world when in truth, the only thief was their own hesitation. Action. Though, that's where the difference lies. Even a flawed step forward is more powerful than standing still. Even a wrong move teaches more than endless hesitation. Because action creates momentum. Action carves a path. Action rips open doors that hesitation will never touch. And once you act, once you push, once you commit, you change the game. The universe doesn't reward thoughts. It rewards movement. But here's the trick. Action is terrifying. It strips away the safety net of excuses. Once you move, there's no turning back. That's why most people never do it. They'd rather live with hesitation, because hesitation feels safe. You can't fail if you don't try, right? You can't lose if you never play. But that's the biggest lie of all. Because refusing to act is losing. Standing still is defeat. Waiting for the perfect moment is surrender. The only way to win is to move, to risk, to bleed if you must. And when you do, when you finally push past hesitation and step into action, something shifts. Fear doesn't vanish, but it bends. Doubt doesn't disappear, but it drowns beneath momentum. You stop thinking about what could go wrong and start realizing what can go right. Action rewires you. It takes the trembling victim of hesitation and turns them into the architect of their own destiny. That's why winning demands it. Because winning isn't about talent or luck. It's about the courage to move when everything inside you screams to wait. Hesitation kills dreams. Action creates them. And every second you spend frozen is a second that someone else spends seizing what you were meant to hold. Winning doesn't care about your excuses, your fears, your delays. It only cares about what you do, and the ones who act, reckless, bold. Unready. Those are the ones who take it all while everyone else is still standing at the door, debating whether to knock. The door won't stay open forever. That's what people don't understand. They think opportunity is patient, like it's going to sit there politely, waiting for them to finally gather the courage, waiting for them to stop overthinking, waiting for them to be ready. They treat the door like it's permanent, like it's nailed into the wall of their lives, always available, always accessible. But doors don't work like that. They open for a moment, and then they close. And when they close, they don't creak back open just because you beg. They slam. They lock. Sometimes they vanish altogether. You can hear it if you listen, the hinge creaking. The echo of time dripping through the frame, the weight of the choice pressing on your chest. The door doesn't wait. It groans. It shivers. It moves closer to closing with every second you stand there doing nothing. And yet, most people stand there, staring. They hesitate, they stall, they whisper to themselves, "I'll walk through tomorrow." But tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow is the excuse that kills more destinies than fear ever could. The cruel part. The door never warns you when it's about to close. There's no countdown clock above your head, no siren blaring, no hand reaching out to pull you through. 1 second, it's there, wide open, daring you to step through. The next second, it's gone. That's the game. And if you didn't move, if you didn't act, then you're left staring at a wall where the door used to be, wondering how you could have been so blind. People hate that truth, so they lie to themselves. They say, "Another chance will come." They tell themselves, "If I missed one, there will be others." But that's not always true. Some doors don't come back. Some doors are once in a lifetime. One moment, one chance, one opening. And if you don't step through, it's gone forever. That's what makes it terrifying. That's what makes it real. Because you never know which door is the last. The door won't stay open forever. And the more you wait, the heavier your chains become. Fear grows stronger, doubt digs deeper. Excuses multiply until you're trapped by your own hesitation. The longer you wait, the more impossible it feels to move. That's why most people never walk through. Not because they couldn't. Not because the door wasn't there. But because they kept telling themselves they had time. They stood frozen while the hinge slowly turned, and by the time they reached out, it was too late. You see, opportunity is cruel in its silence. It doesn't beg you. It doesn't plead. It doesn't say, "Please, come through me." It just waits, cold, unmoving, watching what you'll do. And the moment you decide not to act, the moment you let fear speak louder than courage, the door makes its decision. It closes, and you're left in the dark with nothing but regret. Regret is the shadow that follows closed doors. It whispers in your ear every night, reminding you of what you could have had if only you had moved faster. But you know this already, don't you? You've felt it. That sting in your chest, when you think back to the moments you didn't take, the chances you let slip, the doors you watched close. They haunt you because they remind you of what hesitation costs. They remind you that the world doesn't wait. That time doesn't pause. That the door doesn't care about your excuses, your fears, your delays. It opens, it waits, and then it shuts. The difference between the chosen and the ordinary is simple. The chosen one knows the door is temporary. They don't wait. They don't hesitate. They see it open and they move, even if they're not ready, even if they're afraid. Because they know the truth, ready or not, the door won't stay open forever. Ordinary people wait for the perfect moment, and the door shuts in their faces. The chosen one steps through before the perfect moment even exists. The door won't stay open forever. It doesn't care if you're scared. It doesn't care if you're prepared. It doesn't care if you think you have more time. It opens once, and it dares you to walk through. And if you stand there waiting, then you'll spend the rest of your life staring at the wall, wondering why you didn't move when you had the chance. Ordinary minds ignore urgency and lose everything. That's the sickness. Not weakness, not lack of talent, not lack of resources. No, the disease is delay. The refusal to recognize that the clock is already ticking. The refusal to see that the ground beneath their feet is already cracking. They convince themselves they've got time. They whisper lullabies of comfort. I'll start tomorrow. I'll try later. There's no rush. But the truth, there is always a rush. The world is on fire every second, and only the ones who move, who act, who respond, ever make it through the flames. Ordinary minds don't hear the ticking. They silence it with distractions. They drown it out with comfort, with endless scrolling, with noise. They trick themselves into thinking urgency is an illusion. They say, why hurry? There will always be another chance. That's why they lose everything. Because life doesn't repeat its generosity. Opportunities don't line up like buses arriving every hour. Some moments are singular, once in a lifetime flashes that demand immediate action. Miss it and you're done. Miss it and it's gone forever. But ordinary minds don't believe that. They wait. They stall. They imagine urgency belongs to other people, the chosen, the desperate, the brave. They convince themselves they can play it safe, that they can walk slowly while the rest of the world runs. And then they watch as doors slam, as others succeed, as victories slip away. And they mutter, why not me? The answer is simple. It wasn't you, because you didn't treat the moment as life or death. You thought you had time. You ignored urgency. Urgency is oxygen. Without it, you suffocate in mediocrity. With it, you feel the fire in your chest, the panic that pushes you to move, the raw electricity that makes you leap before hesitation kills you. Urgency is the engine of every victory, the reason some rise while others sink. It doesn't mean recklessness. It means recognizing the weight of now. It means understanding that every second wasted is a second stolen. The winners live like the walls are closing in, like the clock is about to hit zero, like the ground beneath them is about to shatter. And because they live like that, they move when others freeze. Ordinary minds, though, love their comfort. They confuse comfort for safety. They tell themselves the luxury of waiting is harmless. But comfort is the silent thief, the slow poison. It convinces you that standing still isn't dangerous. It whispers, relax, you've got time. Until suddenly, you don't. Suddenly the chance is gone, the door is closed, the opportunity is buried, and all you're left with is regret. Regret tastes bitter because it's permanent. You can't undo a missed moment. You can't resurrect urgency once it's gone. You can only replay the memory of what you should have done. There's a reason the extraordinary rise above the ordinary. It's not brains, it's not luck. It's urgency. They move like they're on borrowed time because they know they are. Every chance could be the last. Every opening could vanish in seconds. So they don't waste time debating. They don't waste time waiting for the perfect conditions. They move. And while ordinary minds hesitate, the extraordinary sees everything. That's why the ordinary lose. They watch urgency walk by in chains, and they do nothing. Look around. Urgency is everywhere. It's in the eyes of someone desperate to change. In the silence before an opportunity collapses. In the seconds before a decision becomes meaningless. But most people are blind to it. They're too busy numbing themselves, too busy pretending tomorrow is guaranteed, too busy ignoring the fire burning under their feet. Ordinary minds live like they're immortal. But mortality is the one truth they can't escape. And when the clock finally runs out, when the walls finally close in, they realize they've lost everything, not because they couldn't win, but because they didn't treat the moment as urgent. Urgency is the difference between living and drifting. It's the blade that cuts through excuses, the match that burns hesitation, the voice that screams, now, while the ordinary mind whispers, later. And the tragedy is simple. Ordinary minds choose later, over and over, until later has stolen every
आँखों का काजल तेरा, होठों की लाली, हाथों में कंगन तेरे, कानों में है बाली। आँखों का काजल तेरा, होठों की है लाली, हाथों में कंगन तेरे, कानों में है बाली।
एक नजर देखा हुआ तुझसे प्यार, सोया ना पूरी रात, चढ़ गया बुखार तुझको पटाने में, किया हद पार, तेरे चक्कर में खाया पापा से मार। लड़की तू बांग्लादेशी बम, मैं लड़का बंगाल का किसी से कम। दम है मेरा बात तो सुन, देसी रम है गिलास तो ढूंढ। सुन 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 सुन, लड़की तू ब्यूटीफुल कर गई चुल। देसी में लड़का दिखने में कूल, तेरे हॉटनेस ने मुझको जला के है रखा। मैंने पहले से फायर ब्रिगेड मंगवा के है रखा। धीरे धीरे मेरा वाइब आने लगा, पर पुश किया सॉन्ग मेरा छाने लगा। सबके मुंह में मेरा गाना आने लगा, आने लगा, आने लगा।
लड़का मैं बंगाल वाला, लड़की तू बांग्लादेशी, घूमेंगे कलकत्ता में जैसे हो पीला टैक्सी। लड़का मैं बंगाल वाला, लड़की तू बांग्लादेशी, घूमेंगे कलकत्ता में जैसे हो पीला टैक्सी।
कलकत्ता का मिष्टी है, खाने में टेस्टी है, दो जन का दोस्ती यहाँ पर टेस्टी है। आइसक्रीम नहीं जो पिघल जाएगा, शादी कर लिया अब किधर जाएगा। जिधर जाएगा उधर जाएगी, घूमने जाओगे पुचका खाएगी। तीखा पुचका मुझे तेरा टेस्टी लगे, तुझसे अच्छा मुझे तेरा बेस्टी लगे। हाय 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 नखरा कमाल, तेरा देसी है बवाल। मुझसे प्यार करती है मत कर सवाल, कातिल हसीना मैं पूरा कमीना। पीछा ना छोड़ो कर दो मुश्किल जीना, टीना मीना चंपा पारो दिल मेरा गया अयो मारे। अरे 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 छोड़ो मेरा कान, मुझे दर्द कर रहा। शिमला के वादी में बर्फ पड़ रहा, बिना हेलमेट के आगे मामा डर रहा। जुर्माना भरा तुझसे प्यार करके, शादी किया तुझसे घर वालों से लड़के।